Hello there, and welcome to Pollination and Pollinators. My name is Tim, I'm a zoologist and keen naturalist. So let's start off with pollination. What is pollination? Well, pollination is the process that flowering plants go through to produce seeds. So how does that work? Well, to understand this a little better, we need to have a look inside a flower. Now we can do this with this tulip flower. Let's have a look inside. As we can see, the inside of our flower has different parts. The darker parts here are what are known as the anther. And it's on the anther that the plant produces tiny grains of pollen. And in order for pollination to occur, the flower needs those tiny grains of pollen to move from the anther to the central part of the flower, called the stigma. Now, unfortunately, the flower can't do that itself, so it needs some help. So how can the flower move the pollen? Well, it can use the wind. The wind can blow across the flower, moving the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. The rain, perhaps, if it rains, it could shake the plant, and again, moving those pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. But in both of those cases, it's not guaranteed. The most successful way a flower can get that pollen moved from the anther to the stigma is by employing the services of pollinators. Here we can see a honeybee working busily across these flowers. If you take a close look at the honeybee, you can see the bright yellow pollen sacs on its legs. As the bee is moving across the flowers, it's finding nectar and pollen, and as it collects the pollen, it deposits that pollen onto the pollen sacs on its legs. This will be taken back to the colony and used as food and various tasks within the colony. But as it's doing so, it's also shaking the flowers, moving tiny grains of pollen from the anther to the stigma within those tiny flowers, thus helping the pollination of the flower and helping the flower to produce seeds. So, with the aid of pollinators, flowers, like this dandelion here, can produce seeds, like this. So our dandelion has produced a flower head. I'm sure you're familiar with the flowers of dandelions and the seeds of dandelions, and if you give that a blow, we can see that the wind would disperse those seeds will land in the ground and a new dandelion will grow. But it's not just flowers producing seeds, of course. Flowering trees, particularly fruit trees, produce blossom. And when that blossom is pollinated, the blossom then forms fruit. So without pollinators, bees, flies, butterflies, etc., there would be no flowers. And if there are no flowers, there would be no fruit. And unfortunately, that would mean a very, very difficult world for us humans. So I hope you've enjoyed our little foray into the world of pollination and pollinators, and I hope to see you all again soon. Many thanks. Bye.